Okay guys, it's time finally to marry this chassis up to the radio. So what we need to do first is get this protective speaker cover off of here. I'm glad I put it on though. I made a couple of mistakes as I was working on the radio. One of those was that I caused a small tear in the speaker, but the speaker paper is quite brittle, and so it was almost inevitable. Alright, so here we go. We'll take this off. And let's go ahead and fit this up into the chassis now. Being very careful of that speaker, okay? We'll get the wires out of the way. They're always in the way. And let's see how this works. Very easy. Very gentle. Nice and slow. There's no hurry. There we go. Okay, so now what we have to do is get those screws in from the bottom. They were sheet metal screws, which is kind of weird, but that's what they're set up as. Alright, so I'm going to need to tilt that a little bit. Okay. I'll get some washers because this is going to need some washers. I don't know why they're not there. They're short screws. Let me get one in place anyway. Okay. We'll get some washers for the rest of them. Some goon put these sheet metal screws in there. I remember pulling them out. I didn't think much of it, but I'm looking in here now and these are threads for a machine screw. They're pretty bunged up by now, but they are. So I'm going to see if I can't get some machine screws like this one. This one's pretty stripped. Okay guys, I found some screws that will work. And I'll go ahead and install those. I've already put 2 of them in. And let me put the other 2 in now. Use my grabber screwdriver. I always say if you haven't got one of these, you should get one because they are nice. Come in here. I thought these were the same. Let me check. They look like the same thread pitch. Maybe these 2 front ones are sheet metal screws after all, because the holes look different. They don't look threaded. They look shallower and without the fine threads. Let me try it in this one. Yeah, that does not feel like, nope. Huh, I'll be darned. I'm going to try this anyway, just to see, because it looks like they might have been threaded properly, and then somebody went into them with a sheet metal screw, so I may be able to, this is a self-cutting thread on this little screw here, so I might be able to clean those up, and use a proper machine screw. Sheet metal screws just aren't good because they work loose. Let me see if I cleaned it up any. May not be able to. That may have worked. I'll be damned. Check that out. Okay, we're good, man. I'm going to put some star washers on these 2 long ones. There's room for it, and those holes are probably likely to be a little loosey-goosey. So let me go get some of those. Okay, I don't have any star washers the right size, but I do have some wavy washers. Remember, what are radios? They're vibration machines. They like to make things work loose. And I won't be able to, because those threads are compromised, I won't be able to tighten it as tight as I normally would like to. So the star washer will help keep it from loosening since it's not super tight. Oh, I actually got it pretty tight. That's good. I was waiting for it to let go and strip, but it didn't. Alright, let's clean up the threads in this one. It's always good to have some of those sort of thread cutting screws around, because they can help if you get one that's bunged up because somebody put a sheet metal screw where there should have been a machine screw. I don't understand. It's not that hard to figure out. Don't do it. One of these days I'll go through all of my hardware and separate it all. I did it once a long time ago with all my metric stuff for cars, and it took me weeks. But I'll go through all of my hardware and organize it such that I don't have to look for something. I just go get it. That's my dream. We'll see if I ever get to realize that dream. Okay, so the reason I'm using 2 washers on this, in order for this wavy washer to work, it has to be compressed flat so that it provides some springing action, okay? So in order to do that, I have to effectively make the head of this screw bigger, because you see it's not going to compress much. And so I put one washer on there, put the wavy washer on there, and it'll compress it more, and put the other washer on there, and it'll compress it between the two and provide the springing action for the screw. Okay? But I want to tell you something, guys. Here's the deal, man. I run into this all the time, and it makes me crazy. It doesn't take much to make me crazy, just so you know. This here, this is a sheet metal screw. Okay? You see the coarse threads and the steep pitch angle on the threads? That's meant to bite into a thin piece of metal, grab onto it, and pull it a little bit. Maybe stretch that metal in order to secure this thing into the metal. You almost always want to use a lock washer with these, preferably something like a star washer or a split washer to keep it from turning. It's not the springy action you're after on that, it's the biting action of those kinds of washers, all right? A machine screw, on the other hand, has a much finer thread, much shallower thread flights, okay? And much shallower thread angle, pitch angle, you know, for the flights. Okay, so these are measured in the American system. I'm learning it because I'm used to using metric or the SI system. But in the American system, they're measured by the size number of the basically the shaft or the bolt. So this might be a number 6. I don't know if it is, but it might be a number 6. And then if there are 32 threads per inch, it would be a 6-32. That's how they're measured. All right. I use a lot of 440s. Number 4 shaft, number 4 bolt, 40 threads per inch. Okay. These usually need a lock washer too, but you can use a wavy washer, because on these you're usually, the way they adhere, the way they grip is you stretch the bolt a little bit. Okay, and that springiness provided by the lock washer will prevent that from working out. You can use star washers too, which I do a lot, or split washers, because they also bite. Especially split washers, they have a springiness too. So, but you have options when you use these. But the point is, don't use this when there are threads for this. It might work for a while, but usually it'll tear those threads up and they're weak, and they'll come out, and this thing will work loose. So you want to check that out. Even if you don't have one of these, go get one, man. They're everywhere. They're Home Depot. They're everywhere. And then put the proper hardware in. Otherwise, this thing is not going to stay together. I say all of this because I run into it all the time. All the time. And so let's see if we can't stop that. All right, one washer here to make the head bigger because you want to compress this spring washer. Spring washer on here. I still have a pretty good stash of spring washers from my Volkswagen days. And there you go. Now this, you see, that spring, when it compresses, will help keep this thing from coming out. Cleaned it out with the thread cutting screw. So this should be a little, this should go in there fine. It might be a little tight for a second. Nope, it's threading in just fine. All right, that was a close call. See, I almost threaded those sheet metal screws back in that were in there, and all the threads are compromised because of the sheet metal screws, but they're not so bad that I can't make them work. Mostly because he used sheet metal screws that were too small, and that's why they were loose when I got to them. These two screws up here are hex head. That's just all I had. I've got to order some screws of various sizes because I'm always looking for them. Just like star washers, man. I'm always looking for them. Now this thing is right. It will last for years. It's got new lock washers, new hardware. There's no reason why this thing shouldn't last, even with those compromised threads. You see those knobs are, the knob shafts are a little off center. Not much I can do about that. It's the way it's made. But I am going to try and put some knobs on, but I'm going to need some felt washers. Okay, you should never put one of these together that have a wood cabinet or even a Bakelite cabinet or whatever without felt washers, unless the hole is big or something like that. Now, I get these from radio days, and it's about time for me to get some more because I'm running low. But I've got a couple of these smaller ones which I think are appropriate for this radio because of the small knobs, and they're thicker. These are vintage ones, but they were in really good shape, so I went ahead and kept them. I usually don't. Okay. A little bit of dust on this one, but I can take care of that. There we go. Now, let me see if my knobs will fit on here. I think they probably will just barely make it. They might not. That's unfortunate. I suppose I could cut them down a little, but I don't want to do that since these aren't any more original than the other ones I would use. And the original one's hard to make. Man, just a tiny bit too tall. Yeah. Just a little too tall. Well, I might as well face facts. I don't want to tear up the knob. It's not going to work. I think he's hungry. What you doing, Fred? Fred? What you doing, buddy? I think I'm going to go with these little RCA style knobs. I only say RCA style because I've seen this style knob on a lot of RCAs. I don't know who the heck came up with these knobs, but we'll go ahead and put this on there. Yeah, that's going to work just fine. It's a shame those knobs I went to a lot of trouble to make, and they're not going to fit. I didn't think about how close that shaft was to that escutcheon. So you can't get the knob on there close, on there close enough for the set screw to grip on the shaft. Okay, let's put this one on here. Check it out. Pretty good. I think actually those knobs look pretty good. There's really nothing wrong with those. They're not exactly like the original. Here being the original, but they're roughly the same size, and they're marbled. They actually have a nicer color than the original. I like them better than the original. I don't much care for that chrome ring, but it's part of what they did. But I hope the owner is happy with that, because he's not going to be able to find these. I looked, and making this is something that will be hard to do because of the size of it. Until I get a drill press rig set up, it's going to be hard to drill the holes properly. So that's why I didn't make one. Plus, mimicking that chrome ring, I could have probably done something with that. Maybe just not had it there, or hand painted it or something. But you know what? This is going to work out great, and I think he's going to like it just fine. All right, guys, the time has arrived to show the Grunow 501 to you, all powered up and ready to go. Got the cord installed, got the antenna strung. It's an old-fashioned reproduction cloth-covered cord. Got the escutcheons all cleaned up, and the grill too. That grill cloth, the speaker cloth, looks real nice behind that grill. And the wood looks decent too, so I think we're in good shape. Let me go ahead and turn this thing on and show you what it'll do. Check out the pretty lights, man. They're bright, I'll say that. Let's turn it up here.
Not certainly, as you said before.
Oops, turn off the light.
5:06 to go, second quarter.
His ultimate day-by-day purpose for our life is that we major depressive episode, or excuse me, had at least one major depressive episode in the past year.
And I thought to the defense and the way they play and the way they keep.
Experience positive emotions all the time.
But I watched them on film the last couple of weeks.
There you go. 1370 KSOP, Utah's classic country. I love this station, guys. You know I'm always gravitating toward that station. Sounds real good too. Check it out. Real nice. Real nice sound. And it picks up all the stations. I mean, it's doing a nice job.
Question. I have actually run reports for my clients where the
That's
difference
1430
between their plan
KLO.
and the optimized plan was over.
And there's the Mexican station at the top of the band.
Taking so.
Look, does that mean win this? I mean, this is a blue state to the point of being almost.
And there is 570, which a lot of radios have trouble picking up in my basement, and this one does great.
Portion of the Washington establishment lives. Members of both parties.
There we go. There's the back side of it. See a nice bright rectifier tube, of course. It's a nice radio. There's the output tube right there. All right, there is the 6F7. There is the oh, help me out here. I'm trying to remember. I'm sorry. There's the 75. There's the 6F7, and there's the 78. So several people have mentioned that this metal plate up here is probably a shield for the oscillator section, the antenna section of this radio, because of the grid caps and so forth. And that very well may be the case. I never did answer that question for myself definitively, but I'm willing to bet that the smart people that told me that are probably right.
But not nearly as much enthusiasm for how.
I can take, you know, I'm as conservative as the day is long, but I can only take so much of that guy. After a while, it just all sounds the same to me. So let me set this up so you can see it head on. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? All right, one more time up the band, and then we'll call it done. How's that?
Republicans in the House and the Senate cannot find a way to get rid of.
Wide receiver to the right, Devon.
There's that elusive country station. I don't know where it is, but I catch it every now and then.
The habits,
which then send warm.
Reserve your seats for 2018. Call
How noble is that to say, I'm going to be a servant?
Is that every time.
Or call 1-888.
And I love you. So woman to woman.
There we go.
You'll understand. Woman to woman.
All right, guys. We'll end on the sound of KSOP. So for this 1934 Grunow Model 501 5-tube transformerless radio, we're all done with it. I've let the owner know that he can come pick it up anytime he wants. It's performing beautifully. I've played it for a few hours, and no problems at all. I've not sensed any difficulties whatsoever. So I think this is going to make him happy. He's eager to show his kids this old radio. So we're going to close down the shop on this one now and get started on the next one soon. So thanks for watching. And from your Western Outpost in Salt Lake City, on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, November the 12th, just a little before Thanksgiving, this is Michael, and that's all for now.